All right. About midnight, we are going live. Hello, welcome, amazing hackers. I hope you're all doing well today. I'm going to cram you full of knowledge if you want it or not, so I hope you're ready. First of all, my name is Uncle Rat. That's how many of you guys know me. My name is also Wesley Tace. I am an avid ethical hacker for a couple of years now, not too many, about three. But I've been doing it very well every day basically. I've got a kid, but I work a day job as well. So I do my day job, QA engineer. I work from home basically with COVID, and then I go and I take care of my kid. I play with her, make food, clean the house, do all of my chores, and I work until like 2 or 3 a.m. So, work from home has definitely allowed that for me, but that's basically what I do. A while back, I did a rabbit hunt on bug bounties for like 8 hours a day, every single day. And I did that because I wanted to get a pen testing job. I had my OSCP, didn't have any experience, and people didn't want to hire me if I didn't have any experience. By the way, hope you guys are hearing me all right because this is my new Blue Yeti microphone. So nobody wanted to hire me. I was like, I'll show you that I can do pen testing. I'll show you that I can do a step further than that. And I'll show you that I can do bug bounties, which leads me perfectly into my next point. By the way, if you guys have any questions in between, feel free to drop them in the chat as well. I'll be checking in between regularly to see if there's any questions. This is what I like about live classes. We can have some interaction. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. First of all, I want to make a couple of points clear, and we're not going to waste too much time because I don't want to waste too much of your precious time either. Now, bug hunting is completely the wrong name in my opinion because in my opinion, it's much more relevant to underline that we are testing a target in a very advanced methodology to a very high degree of skill. Because the target that we are testing, we are actually testing that target against our own methodologies, and hunting for bugs implies that you know that there is an issue. And that's what I think is wrong with most of platforms today that give you practice. They're very good because they give you practice, but the problem is that they give you practice in a very controlled environment where you know that there will be a vulnerability and you usually know what vulnerability you are looking for. Now, that's wrong in my opinion. A pen test is usually like that. You usually know that there's a vulnerability. But in bug hunting, it's a lot different because we come after pen testers. There's basically three stages. You have your internal code analysis, and then you have your pen testing, which happens on dynamic code, and then the bug hunters come in. So, as you guys know, pen testers are no joke. I'm not gonna mock any pen testers because they do an excellent, very thorough job. But usually, what they lack is overview in the sense that they are very limited to either features sometimes, at least I've seen that happen, or they're very limited in scope in some way. And that limitation usually brings about a lot of missed opportunities because a lot of vulnerabilities occur in integration points, in my opinion. That's just my QA engineering instinct that says, hey, teams that have to integrate with each other don't talk to each other usually, so there usually lies issues. What we don't do is we don't hunt for bugs, we don't hunt for money. We're actually testing a target that's already been tested before, and that's something we have to keep in the back of our heads against our skill level at that moment. So if it's that we don't find any bugs, it might be that we need to raise our skill level. That's entirely possible, but it's also possible that we're just sticking way too much to one way of thinking. And for pen testing, they are first in line, we are last in line, but it also means that we have to think very differently. A pen tester can use their methodology and usually even has to. They have to stick to some type of methodology or some type of coverage levels. But what they can't do is adapt and overcome, because if they see something interesting on something that's out of scope, they can't really even investigate that. So that's very annoying to me as a pen tester. At least that's the boring part of being a pen tester. in a sense that you have to check a target. For example, if you're testing broken access control, you have to check the same functionality multiple times. That can get boring after a while, of course, but in the bug bounty world, we as ethical hackers, as bug bounty hunters, have certain unique skill sets. Everybody, in my opinion, has their own unique skill set, something that makes them better than everybody else. For me, it's logic, broken access control, and idlers. I don't know why, I just like them, I'm good at them, I find them everywhere that I go, I don't know why either. But by the way, it's not also what I also want to really iterate here is that it's not like you can put us on any target and we will find something there. That's very important. We're going to get more into that later, but that brings me more into my point of let's see, let's go back a few steps. There we go. We are at the wrong page. Anyway, let's go back to page number. There we go. Bug bounties is not the same as pen testing, so it's important to realize that we have to look where pen testers didn't look, that we fill in the gaps where they weren't able to look or just didn't get the creative freedom, being that they were time bound to look there. Now, bug bounties is also something you have to realize this very carefully. Bug bounties is not a reliable way of money. Does not mean you can't go full time with it. You can still go full time bug hunting if you're deterred enough. But even full time bug bounty hunters have told me, no, it's not like I can get a complete, like, it's not like they can get a bug every single day. It's like they have to really work for it, and they have stretches where they inevitably aren't going to find anything. And it's that, in my opinion, which separates the real bug bounty hunters from the people who cut off early. It's being able to stomach that inevitable losing streak where you're not gonna gain anything from bug bounties for a while, and you have to be able to get through that and think, keep going, because everybody has it. Every single hunter that I know has that period where they don't find anything, and that's okay. Even if you're the best hunter, even if you're good at finding consistent bugs every single day, even if they're not duplicates, even then the company might take a while to pay out. And that's something that you have to realize as well. Like those 2 months that I did bug bounties intensively, they took a couple of months before they were fully paid out. And it's that stretch over time that you have to be able to bridge, or you have to be able to find another target which pays out sometimes quicker. It's just something that if you want to go full time, you have to realize this. It's not a way of consistently getting money, but you can definitely live off of it. And especially if you're living in a low wage country, because of course there you're, a low income country, or a low cost country, I should say, a low cost of living. Because those countries, if you get like 2,000 euros there, then you can actually bridge the month easily. But I know that in some places rent is like $1,200 per month. And if you then only get $2,000, $800 is not a lot to live off of. Just want to get that in your head. And I also want to get into your head that bug bounties is not exploitative researchers. I am a company. I've already paid somebody to go through my application thoroughly, and I'm opening it up to everybody to test on. You don't have to test on anything. You're not obliged to anything. You don't have a contract with anybody. You're hacking a live target. In my opinion, that's a big privilege, and you're testing your skills against a real product, something real, and not something that's imagined by somebody in a lab that's intentionally made vulnerable. Because sometimes those two can differ slightly, and it's again that's a slight separation point, because some people might be able to pick up on that slight deviation, and some might just never be able to, and they'll never get from practice platform to real target. But I think everybody who's watching today can. I think you guys have it in you to look at the details very intensively and scrutinize an application from top to bottom. It's really, really important that you do that, and important to keep in the back of your head that for me, it's a privilege that you're testing on a live target. I don't know about you guys, but that's how I feel about it. Now, I want to go over some basic tips as well, what bug bounty platform to pick and what targets to pick, and how to get invited to private platforms, since that seems to be a frequently asked question. Now, some basic tips. Bug bounties is not pen testing. By the way, let me look at the chat real quick if you have some questions already, because I see we have 27 viewers. Hello, amazing hackers. Great to see you here. Yes, that is a new microphone, the Blue Yeti. Thank you very much. I love it as well. Hey, how are you doing, Brain Burn? I hope you're doing well. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them, by the way. I see Joliet asks, so bug bounties should not be your only job. Well, it can be. I know some people who have successfully done it. For example, some people who live in India, and even some people who live in Belgium, which is a pretty high income, pretty high cost of living country, in my opinion. But still, some people can definitely do it. It's not impossible. So if that's your dream, I say you should at least try your dreams. That's my opinion. Like, I'm not saying drop your job right now. Let's get that clear. I'm saying if you want to, you can try to do bug bounties for a while and see if you get anything. But anything that you want to do, whether it be bug bounties, whether it be jujitsu, whether it be professional football, it doesn't really matter. You have to invest some level before you unlock what is required to reach your full potential in it. You have to invest some level of time in it usually to reach that level. Now, I want to reiterate that bug bounties is not pen testing. Bug bounty targets have already been tested before internally by the company. It's no secret that pen testers have gone through the application. They have their methodologies. It's usually very thorough, but also, of course, automation tools. Keep that in mind, because you might want to have a look at those automation tools and look what they are looking for. Maybe you can look at some variations of that. For example, cross-site scripting attack vectors is something that automation tools often look for. Well, maybe you might be able to look for some deviations on the attack vectors themselves. All right, so I really want to get it into your head that it's important to spend a lot of time picking a good target. It's like picking a date. It's like picking somebody to live with, somebody to marry. You want to spend as much time as possible and as you need to actually investigate them. And if you're at any point not comfortable with them, cut them off. I'm not talking about your wife or your husband, of course. I'm talking about your bug bounty target. It's really important because you already have enough troubles in your life and you don't need another one. This can really mean the difference between frustration and finding a bug. And I mean that because if a target doesn't fit your unique skill set, it's no use. Of course, you're going through the same motions as that pen tester, but that thing that you're extremely good at, you're going through some different motions somewhere, some brain connections in your head, something. But you have to find the thing that you're good at, because if you don't like testing business to business websites, you're never gonna find good bugs on them, because you're not gonna be fully attentive and you're not gonna enjoy the experience, which is something that if you're doing bug bounties and if you're considering doing bug bounties, enjoy the experience, enjoy hunting for bugs on a real target, and enjoy looking for bugs, because if you really want to focus on the money, it's never gonna come. It's just not gonna be there. And try to just focus on the price, just keep your eyes on the price. The price in this case is finding a vulnerability. And why that's important will be important and will come on later, but finding a vulnerability on any target that's necessary. It's either going to require you to be first to test that target as a bug bounty hunter, or it's going to require you to be very creative. Now, I don't like to rely on that speed aspect, because there can only be one first. There also can only be one creative or most creative, but I have a bit of an autistic brain, and I'm pretty good at thinking of those scenarios of going outside. Well, I don't know what it is, but there's something that makes me look at the logic in a different light. And that's my strong point. That's my forte. So that creativity is something that I heavily focus on versus the speed. You have some hunters who try to be first to find a new subdomain, for example. That's a perfectly valid strategy. Don't get me wrong, but that's not how Uncle Rat hunts. That's just what I'm trying to say here. And you can either be very diligent with your work. You can try to do it extremely thoroughly, and that might seem strange. Like, hey, how can one person test more thoroughly on a target than a different person? Well, I'll tell you how. The devil is in the details, and it's all about those details, how much they note, how much you notice those details. If you're testing a target and the target, for example, has parameters, you need to look at every single parameter until you're bored out of your mind, because then your mind starts to come up with creative ways to use that parameter in your application. And being bored also knows you know your application well. That's important in my opinion, because knowing your application, it means the difference between hacking something and trying to hack something. You can't hack something if you don't know how it works. It's as simple as that. That's why I spent so much time exploring my target as well. I also want to reiterate that it's no use following a set pen testing methodology, but rather it really pays off to just be creative, and build an intuition for bugs by doing as much labs as you can. Yes, those intentionally vulnerable labs. They'll start to build an intuition inside of you, but some people, I know that they get stuck on those labs and they never are able to manage to go to a real target. I think it's for several reasons. One, usually they pick the wrong targets, and two, they are scared. They are frightened of a real target because they are frightened of realizing that they are not good enough to hack it. That, don't deny it, you are as well. And I know that a lot of people who have trouble making that step, they are frightened of failing. They're frightened of looking in the mirror and seeing a failed person. But I want you to realize that as soon as you make that step, you're no longer a failure. As soon as you try to hack a real target, that failure goes away. There is no more failure. If you never make that step, however, well, you automatically fail. It's as simple as that. If you never go to a real target, if you never get real hacking experience, then you automatically fail. And it's really important to realize this. Just trying is so much better than doing nothing at all. But as soon as you hit that real target, you're gonna face unknowns and you're gonna face a lot of uncertainties. Get used to that. Bug bounties is all about uncertainties and not knowing what you're looking at, investigating it, looking it up, seeing, oh, this is what that's for. All of those things, they really matter in bug bounties. And at some point, you're gonna report something and it's gonna come back as a duplicate. And I really don't want you to mourn for that. I really want you to think differently and celebrate your duplicates. Because even a duplicate even a duplicate means that you actually found something that's valid. You just weren't fast enough in that case. Can mean two things. One, you need to be more creative, or two, you need to be faster. Can either be one of those two things. But whatever you do, whenever you attack a target, don't forget to take notes. And that can be on your computer, but I prefer to take handwritten notes. And I don't know why, but there's something about that ink flowing on paper which really grafts some of those concepts into my mind. It's also much easier to draw on a paper, by the way, but I really have to do it in a booklet because I have to save that book and I have to carry it with me everywhere that I go. And it's important to take notes, at least for me, because I want to test my target not once, but I want to test it multiple times. in Agile, the average release cycle or the release cycle should be, I think, 2 weeks or about 2 weeks. That's something you should strive for, I believe. But in Agile, there's just often a new software that's being released. So you really want to retest and go back to your notes and with one quick overview be like, oh yeah, that, and that. Okay, bam, I know where I left off. I know what I was testing again. And I know what I have to retest now, because often they will also include release notes, which incidentally, that release note page is something that I'm constantly monitoring from the targets that I really like. I wrote a shell script which gets like a curl and then does an MD5 hash of the parts that don't really change that often, only when there's a new update. So it's a pretty simple script basically, but what it does is it checks with the existing MD5 hash if something changed, and if something changed, it alerts me. I do that because I want to retest my targets sometimes, and over time, over period, especially for some of these targets, I've contacted them directly in the sense that I've worked with them directly over the past few years. So they've given me pen testing assignments now. So definitely good things can come from bug bounties. That's all I want to say. We also want to test complicated scenarios sometimes. That's important. You can't test a complicated scenario without writing it down, in my opinion. And nobody can note down 9 steps in their head and see every deviation in front of them automatically. Doesn't happen like that. You have to write down those possible deviations and how they could possibly kill your system. An example, we had a rating system that went from 1 to 5 stars, and if you send the parameter, it went from 1 to 5 basically. And we were like, how can we hack this? Let's try, let's giving it a score of 100 and let's see if it elevates the score by a lot, instead of just the 5s that we were allowed to give it. Didn't do anything. We started entering special characters, alphanumerical characters, anything that we could throw at it, we could think of. But the only thing that would actually work was throwing in negative numbers, because that would drag down the score of the entire place. And you could write negative 1,000,000 and the entire place would go down by 1,000,000 points, which was quite severe, of course. Now, as for bug bounty platforms, it's important that you pick the right platform, because you have several types of platforms as well. You have like the major platforms, which are often well known by most people, some regional platforms, and some private platforms, which you can only join by application, or some companies choose to self-host. Now, as for the major platforms like Integrity, Bugcrowd, and HackerOne, you will face a lot more competition there, a lot more programs to pick up from. But Integrity, for example, doesn't have negative karma. Bugcrowd also doesn't have negative karma. Integrity doesn't have as much hackers. They have a very big selection of places you can hack on. You have some more regional platforms as well, which you can look at, like Yes We Hack, Yogasha. Yogasha is the Japanese platform. Okay, are they trustworthy? I can say Yogasha yes, but whatever it is, try it and you will see. That's all I can say about it. There's a lot less competition. They have a smaller selection of programs, and it's mostly in the language of the region that they're based in. So you will have to use translators a lot. On Integrity, it's often the same thing with Dutch and French websites. You will have to use a translator on them, but just use the translator plugin. And then, of course, you will have less hardened targets on here because there's less competition. If you go to to HackerOne, for example, or Yes We Hack, you will see that there's a lot less competition on Yes We Hack. But there's also a lot of good people there, of course. No, don't underestimate any other hunter, but also treat every bug bounty target like you are the first person to look at it. Don't think about anybody else, just think about you and the target and how you would hack it, because that's the only way you will come up with creative ideas. Now, there's also private platforms like Synack, for example. You have to apply to join those. There's way less competition, but they also have a lot of quality targets on there, which is, of course, any hunter's dream. So if you can make it into Synack, I would definitely try. I've been invited myself, but I personally don't have the time, honestly, to bug hunt much anymore. So I've declined it, and I would rather have some of you guys have it. But it's definitely something you should be striving for, in my opinion. You also have self-hosted platforms like Google. On firebounty.com you can find a lot of bug bounty targets and you can look at them. Like I'll open Firebounty right now, for example. There is a page, if the page until 475 pages. So you have 22,000 policies that are related to bug bounties, and you can see what the rewards are. You can filter by the rewards. You can see, for example, I want the reward, I want the gift, okay. Then only shows targets with that type. So a lot of bug bounty choices on here. Unity, like they just go around the web like a scraper. They try to be like the Google of bug bounty targets, I think. Very, very good platform. Would definitely give it a shot. Integrity also recommended. Those are my recommendations. I know Bugcrowd is also pretty good. Nothing against HackerOne, but I just don't have any personal experience with those guys, so I can't tell you. Well, I do have personal experience with those guys, but I don't have much to say about that, to be honest. Now, picking a target, you have some different categories for your targets. You will find that you can either pick a business to business target, business to consumer target, wide scope versus main application, web app versus mobile versus desktop versus IP range versus blah 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 blah. There's so much bug bounty targets that you can pick from, and you can see that on Hexpert.com as well, by the way. I'm going to give you guys access to my labs, and you will see in the web shop, for example, I built this is a bug bounty target that you can attack, a bug bounty target, quote unquote, simulated of course, but this has logic flaws in it. This is a web shop, for example. This has a search bar, a shopping cart. There's a lot of different functionalities on here, but you also have Cheesebook, for example, and Cheesebook, oh, I didn't put it on here. I put it on the backup folder, or was it just Cheesebook? There we go. So Cheesebook lowercase, of course. Oh, why don't I drop these in the chat, by the way? That might be ideal. So let's drop Cheesebook in here. Let's drop Webshop in here. Feel free to hack on any of these labs as you see fit. They are bug bounty targets of completely different origins, as you guys can see. So Webshop, and then we also have the Pentest target, which is like a blogging website more. Let's see, there we go. And any of these targets, you can see that they are different, and any of those targets will fit you differently. Depends. Do you want to go a vulnerability disclosure program, or do you want to go paid program? Well, it also depends on that. I would definitely recommend from these business to business, main application, web application, vulnerability disclosure program, and public program, of course, because private you need to get invites first. So why business to business? Because it's going to contain a lot more functionality. Main application, because it's going to contain a lot more functionality. Web application, because it's going to be a lot easier to intercept traffic there. And vulnerability disclosure versus paid. Vulnerability disclosure, again, a lot of hackers are going to say, no, not going to waste my time with VDP. I want to get paid. So any deterrent for other hackers is something that you want to go after. And after a while, after you get comfortable with bug bounties, maybe try mobile, maybe try desktop, maybe try something different, you know? Just try whatever you feel fits you, go with it, you know? Go with the flow. Don't be too harsh on yourself either. If you fail at one of these targets, just say like, okay, I learned, and that's my biggest goal, my biggest achievement is what I've learned today, and go on, continue. It's not about how often you fall flat on your face, it's about how often you get up and march on, because the path to success, it's just littered with pitfalls everywhere, and you're gonna fall into some of them, but that's okay. What I usually go for, again, main voice main applications such as invoicing, for example. Those are some things. HR applications. I never go for a web shop. I will never go for. I just don't like those targets for a newspaper website, for example. I just really don't like them. I will go for paid personally, but again, I recommend with VDP and private. I would definitely recommend if you can, but of course, you need to get the invites first. And it's also, I really like to look out for programs where I can either get different user privileges or I can create different user privileges. That's important to me because, again, that opens up a lot more functionality, such as broken access control and IDRA testing. Avoid high payout. You really don't want to go for high payout targets in the beginning. They are a lot more hardened. Of course, after a while, you can go for them. Avoid newspapers. They usually don't contain a lot of functionality in them. Don't go for banks. Again, they are usually a lot more hardened and sometimes even encrypting their traffic. And sometimes they even require you to become a customer there. So that's something I would avoid in the beginning. In the beginning, I would avoid mobile. I would learn API first via web application, via web app. So learn web application hacking, you will learn API hacking almost automatically, and then expand into mobile or other areas as you see fit. Avoid web shops unless you're willing to spend some money, because if you want to test the full functionality of a website, you're gonna have to test everything, including buying, selling, returning, renting, whatever it is, you're gonna have to test it all. That's very important. So unless you're willing to spend some of the hard-earned cheese, then I wouldn't do it. Avoid programs that don't give you credentials and don't let you self-register either. And do take these back up later when you know more. Don't avoid them forever, of course. Now, as for getting invites to private programs, all I can say is be active, report valid bugs, and the bug bounty platforms will keep like some kind of profile on you, like what you're good at, what you're not so good at. They'll keep an eye on you and they'll invite you as they see fit. HackerOne also sometimes gives out free invites if you get a flag in a CTF, but that's something that I've never done before because I've heard that the invites are of lower quality, but that's something I've heard of. I don't know how accurate that is myself, of course. So that's it for this specific part of the program. I hope you guys are having fun. Let's see if we have any questions here. So, hello, Mr. Sharonan. Yes, I found a medical yeti in the woods. Thank you very much, Mr. Argnar. Mr. Joliet, thank you, Mrs. Joliet. My apologies. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Watching from Nepal. Wow, Nepal. That's really cool. Awesome. Hello, Nepal. I hope you're doing well. It's more like a side income. That's what something I would definitely agree with, Mr. One Cool. So that's a great remark there. Up to 4:40 a.m. to watch you live. Thank you very much, Kushagra. That's so freaking awesome. Any suggestion on tool other than Burp or Kali default? Yes, definitely. There are some tools like Nuclei, for example, that I would definitely recommend. Nuclei is a great tool by Project Discovery, and it contains some amazing functionalities. You can filter basically on what type of vulnerability you want to look for by severity, for example. And that's a tool I would recommend. I would recommend Nox for cross-site scripting, but I would recommend that you use it in a way that is on my channel. I've made a video about using Nox. I would also recommend, what other tools would I recommend? Well, basically the developer tools, because those are great assets. Just the inspect and the developer tools right here. Those are usually great for me. Let's see. Handwritten notes with color pens, color gel pens is my happy place. That is awesome. I love handwritten notes as well, and especially with something like a gel pen. I don't know what it is like, but the feeling is just And sometimes you have those smelly pens as well. These are freaking awesome. Now I'm gonna demonstrate some of what I've been telling you guys, because of course we had three targets that we were looking at. We had that pen test target right here. We have the web shop. So on that pen test target, you can say admin and you can say username equals test. And then you can actually do a lot of things here. You can create a new post, you can create a new user, you can view the users. There's a lot of things that you can do right here. And I would recommend you play around with it a little bit, just see what you can do, edit something, delete something, and certain users have certain rights as well. So first things first, of course, I'm gonna have to go to Burp Suite and I'm gonna have to set expert as my target, and I'm gonna use my Burp Suite default. So I use Burp Suite Professional. You don't have to, but it helps in some ways. For example, being able to save my target is definitely helpful for me. Then I'm gonna set my target to hexpert.com. Don't include the protocol, don't include the slash behind it. My target is just hexpert.com, and now I can set up my proxy and open up a new browser. And again, I'm going to copy that entire file, that entire URL that we have right here. This URL is going to redirect me to the home page because I'm not logged in this browser. And as you can see, I'm in the login page right now, but I can log in as admin and I can log in with username test. Now, I'm gonna explore what I can do here. So first of all, let's create a new post and let's write something cool like rats are awesome. All right, let's put in a description as well. Let's put it under a certain category. So we have our post, rats are awesome. We can edit and delete that post. Now we can also create a new user. So let's go and create a new user. Let's go rat@rat.com for the email address, and we'll repeat that rat@rat.com, and the password can be just test. Did I type that right? There we go. And we can see in the bottom that we have some user rights here as well. This is what I meant with the different privilege levels that are important to me. I'm gonna give him none. So this user can do, we register him, we log out. Oh, we were already logged in. So username rat, password test. Oh, incorrect. That is not smart of me. I forgot what email address I entered, but it's okay, because let's say I'm gonna go with moderator, because moderator is also an account you can log in with, and you can log in with the same password test. You can see that the moderator can delete posts right here, but he can't edit any post. He doesn't have that edit button right there that everybody else does. Now, if he goes to edit.php though, so that is definitely something I'm gonna try immediately. That is broken access control already, and that's a broken access control issue. Now, if I go back to my admin panel, I also notice that I cannot view users. At least it's not in my list users.php. And well, if I go there directly, I can view users specifically. So there's definitely some issues going on in this laboratory. And as you can see, as for those issues, somebody apparently got really bored and spammed page after page after page. Oh wow, they got really bored. Anyway, so that's a little bit of how I would hunt. Of course, we're also gonna be looking for cross-site scripting, but I'm gonna be doing this with a generic broken image. And if I see my broken image appear right here, I know that I might actually have reflected cross-site scripting going on. Now, as you can see, sorry about that, it's a little bit more complex here. There are some filters in place, but it does prompt me to go and dig a little bit deeper about why the broken image is there and if I can abuse it for my own good. That's some of the things you can do. And if you look real carefully, if you're a pen tester, you will also see cross-site scripting as possible, but you will also see, if I go to the sort of tab, no, where is it? The memory tab, no, it's the application tab. Here we have cookies, and here I can see a session ID, but I can see that some flags have not been set. And if I enlarge this a little bit, you can see that the HTTP only flag is off. That means that I can also steal it with cross-site scripting, which would lead to an account takeover. So there's many different issues going on right here, but if I see something, I'm gonna drill down to the bottom level, and I'm not just gonna report a service level alert popping up. I'm gonna see if I can take over that account in some way. So everybody feel free to hack along on this laboratory, feel free to hack along after what we've been talking about. But first of all, I really want to quickly reiterate what we've been doing. I want to click through my target, and I have Burp Suite open in the background. That also enables me to actually build a sitemap in the background, and if I really want to, I can filter this and show only the parameterized requests, for example. And what I can then do is I can actually copy all of those URLs and I can paste them in a text file. Or if I really want to, let's see where it is, I can actually copy, save selected items. There you go. I can actually save all of this. If I really want to, I can feed that then to other tools. For example, all of those URLs, I can just feed them into tools like XSS Strike or Nox, this command line interface. I can feed them into Nuclei. I can look into any tool that I basically want to. And that's where things become interesting, because now I can actually go and look at what's going on right here as well. I can look at what's being sent along. Like, for example, I can see that all of these are get parameters. And as a pen tester, you know that these should never be get parameters, of course. But I'm gonna investigate every single one of them. Username, email, password 1, password 2. I'm gonna see what those do. Delete, the same thing. I'm gonna look for IDORs. I'm gonna see if I can delete other people's posts or broken access control. Delete posts where I'm not supposed to be able to delete posts. Same for editing posts. I have an index page right here. I see I have a login page. I'm gonna see if this is reflected anywhere on the page, that I'm on page 112. And then I'm gonna see, can I change that 112 into a cross-site scripting attack vector? I'm gonna look at all of these post parameters that we have right here, username, password, test. And then I'm gonna go and actually look at everything, every single thing. And again, I'm gonna look at it until I'm bored. I'm gonna explore my entire application from the inside out using tools like Burp Suite, for example. These are very useful tools which help expedite your hunting process, in my opinion. Now, if you have all of that done, we're gonna look, now that we've looked at all of this, do I want to show you anything else? Not particularly. What I wanted to show you mostly is I wanted to go to integrity, and I actually wanted to show you the public programs, and we're gonna pick a few programs. I'm gonna tell you avoid or register, and I'm gonna tell you why. Apply. Why? They are business to business application, a lot of functionality in there, a lot of user levels. Ignore in the beginning because they're a web shop. Ignore in the beginning because newspaper. Ignore in the beginning because huge payouts. Visma, not really looked into. Port of Antwerp, look into if you like broad scope. Cybersecurity Coalition, this one I haven't looked into. New Pharma is a web shop that I actually shop at regularly, so I actually applied, and whenever I'm shopping, I'm actually testing my application. Hoppler, apply, go for it, but avoid the broad scope part of it and go directly for the main application. Going directly for the main application will require you to register with a neighborhood. If you register, you will see a button, get credentials, and it will say, okay, this is your neighborhood code, but you will still have to look up a street in that specific neighborhood. It's important because otherwise you cannot register. So I always just go to Google Maps, open the neighborhood, and type in the first street name that I see. Next, let's see here. I am KU Leuven, KU Leuven University. I'd avoid. It's a kind of an offense. Avoid for me for now. Uphold, buy and sell major digital currencies. I would avoid it because I would think that they're pretty hard on target. Is at Leuven, that's a hospital, avoid in the beginning. Tomorrowland, that's a very popular festival, tested if you're buying tickets. Online enrollment for students for KU Leuven, again university. Newspaper, VRT, I would go for it. It's definitely got a lot in scope. Juki, IoT, so if you like IoT, if you have the Juki speaker, why not, right? If you know how to intercept the traffic, that is. Next port, haven't looked into it, still in at base. I wouldn't go for it. If you honestly look at the scope, it's not bad. If I'm a Telenet customer, they have a lot of things in scope, but this becomes overwhelming very quickly. Then I would worry. There we go. Twago, haven't looked into it. Morales, haven't looked into it. Showpad, I would apply. Business to business application. Hardware.info, where I found my very first real cross-site scripting. I would go for it basically because it has simple, basic technology behind it. It has PHP, that's the main driver of it, and you'll notice that my first cross-site scripting was hidden in a very deep part of the application. I don't know how new it was, but it was definitely an eye-opener for me. Global sign, probably know what they're doing, so probably gonna be hardened. Mobile Vikings, if you're a customer, why not? Newspaper, so Squills, haven't looked into it. Napoleon Games, a lot of WebSocket hacking, a lot of fun, why not? But it's WebSocket hacking, so keep that in mind. Integrity itself, why not, right? If you're testing anyway. Student assessment system for KU Leuven. Again, university, hospital. Then we have a sort of a newspaper / newsy website. It's kind of like a tabloid-ish website. I don't know how you pronounce it. KU Leuven, again, a university. Kinepolis Group, they would know what they're doing. They're very hardened, probably. DPG Media newspapers, Tempo Team, haven't looked into it. Swevo, I would look into Swevo simply because they'll give you this extremely useful chart, and they say they're looking a lot for privilege control issues, and that's what I look a lot for. But what you can also notice is that they have a security matrix in here, and it tells you what every single profile, what every single access level can do. So this is perfect for broken access control testing, of course. They give it to you. I'm very grateful for giving me that. At least I was when I was hacking on them. Newspaper, Bloom would go for it. It's the COVID-19 application, really useful, really like hacking on it. But for vulnerability disclosure program, SpeakApp, haven't looked into it. It's me, very hardened. VTM Go, probably hardened. VRT would go for it again. Gulp, I haven't looked into it. Inno Games, if you like game hacking, this is the one for you, because a lot of actions are done by basic API request machines. Burp Suite is perfect at intercepting them, and they are browser games, which makes them easier. Sixt, haven't looked into it. It's car rental, so be my guest, but not my thing. Randstad, not my thing. BMC, haven't looked into it. Yacht, haven't looked into it. Vida Excel, haven't looked into it. Data Camp, haven't looked into it. A lot of things haven't looked into either. Bank, don't like it. Hospital, don't like it. University, don't like it. Airlines are very, very complicated, and it's a lot of things that I just don't like about it. OneSpan, Trust, and they know what they're doing. Uride knows what they're doing. Camel.io is a software as a service platform why not? It's definitely something interesting. Sentient, also interesting. Red Bull, if you like Red Bull. Researcher Fast Lane, definitely love that. Tweakers, if you like to hack, the same thing as hardware.info. Then we have monster.world, right? This is a job searching website, so I haven't looked into it. Arcane Market, haven't looked into it, but high payout, so probably avoid. Then we have hospital, web shop. This is a newspaper website. Then we have a high school, a university again. Then we have a Dutch cooperative of growers. Have looked into it. iBoot, funny website. Love doing it. Just fun to look into. Why not, right? And then we have Crossroad, and Crossroad is an open source software and ecosystem solution. Haven't looked into it, so couldn't advise you on that. I hope your brain has been pumped full of knowledge, and I hope you guys have been pumped as well. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Do you guys have any questions for Mr. Red? Because I really enjoyed doing this, and I hope you guys have gotten some inspiration from this. So what I also wanted to give you guys is I want you to go to hackspert.com after this, and I'm sorry that I'm promoting my website, but I promise it will pay off. And I want you to go to /blog/huntlikerat, and this is where I detail my entire methodology like I just showed right here, some general tips, and I'm gonna give that to you guys as well in the chat today for free. Well, actually, forever, because this thing is going up on YouTube. So if you guys ever want to rewatch, that's also not a problem, of course. Well, I would like to thank everybody for watching, because this has been a very well spent evening, if you ask me. I enjoyed myself. I hope you guys enjoyed as well. I've had a little candle burning alongside me the whole time, and I've been just be very talkative and just enjoying teaching you guys. I hope you guys are ready to hack some real targets right now, because this has been my turn. I think it's up to you now. Good luck, amazing hacker. Now let's see, what tools do you use for recon? I use a mask for, like, I can show you, why not, right? Let's go to my Termius. So I use, basically I use a lot of virtual machines, and I use Termius to manage my virtual machines. Now in here I can easily just have a server, and I can double click on it and connect to it. Now in here, let's enlarge this a little bit. Yes, there we go. Now I run a mass enum, and then let's go here t.be, for example. And then AMAS is gonna do my enumeration for me. No, root domains were provided -D. I need to provide the option -D. Where is my arrows? There we go. Oh. And now it's gonna do what I wanted to do. So AMAS is definitely one of my favorites. I love running that tool. What other tools do I use? Just manual recon, just going on Google, just doing some Google dorking as well. And it can be very simple, because it can already be site VRT, for example. And then it can be, I just click on a jobs.vrt.be -jobs. Okay, next I see tal -tal. And that way I get a real big feel for what I'm actually hacking as well, besides when I'm actually just running my tools. I think you should run them in conjunction with each other, tools and manual, of course, but that's important, and that's what I do. I also will just, after AMAS, I will do a subdomain flyover with HTTP probe. Sorry, I will check what domains are live with a HTTP probe. Then I will do a subdomain flyover with Aquatone, basically. So that's my methodology for broad scope. I hope that's useful for you. Then I run Nuclei on it. Have I ever tried using HackerOne? Yes, but I reported some bad issues there, and I got some negative karma in the very beginning. and I left because I had to wait 30 days before I could report a new vulnerability. So that's why I'm no longer actively hacking on HackerOne. Basically, I'm not actively hacking on much anymore these days, except for the pen testing, because they require a lot of my attention. That's why I try to pass this knowledge on to you guys. Thanks for giving the required cheese. Thanks for giving me the required cheese, my amazing hacker friends. I love you guys so much, and I hope you guys. What do I usually do after recon? Just the last question that came in. Well, after recon, nuclei vulnerability scanning and manually looking at my targets, just looking for login portals and doing directory brute forcing for them, for example. I also do port scans and I look at open ports and I see if I can find exploits on them. It's those types of things that I will be doing after my recon, initial recon on a broad scope target. The PowerPoints for this, they will be, I'll distribute them via my Hexpert website. So I'll upload them on there and I'll post a link on Twitter for the PowerPoints if you guys want. And I'll include a link to this stream in there so you guys can rewatch it if you want to. I couldn't take your bootcamp giveaway. Can you cheat us? What's the time of the next one? You guys want a you guys want a bootcamp giveaway? Well, watch my Twitter in the next, let's say, 15 minutes. Let's say 10 minutes after the stream watches. I'm gonna give away some boot camps for free after this stream ends. That's gonna be your reward for being here. Have you tried using recon, GitHub recon, like finding secret keys? Yes, GitHub is something I'll also do recon on manually. Usually, you can also run tools on it, of course, but I also do manual recon on it all of the time, basically. Modern web applications are more secure than traditional ones. I disagree, because modern web applications, a lot of modern apps are built on the premise of, oh, I have building blocks here and I'm gonna connect them with each other, like Node.js, like AngularJS, like Vue.js. Beautiful, don't get me wrong, but a lot of developers don't know what they're doing anymore. Unless you have some media senior developers, that's a different thing. So yes, it gets more secure in its base, but it also gets less secure in its base because less people know what they're doing with it. Yeah, I know. Have you ever been into a company where you found a bug and reported, but they ignored you and patched it? Yeah, this one time I actually found a JWT issue and I found it on Backrowd, and I found it on a very big target, basically, together with a good friend of mine at the time, Stunfast. And we were hunting and we noticed that we could forge JWT tokens. So we could forge any account, the login that we wanted. We could pretend to be anybody that we wanted, basically, by forging a JWT token. But the thing is, they led us around the garden and basically we reported it. We reported about 50 comments. They asked us, can you close this one? It's gotten cluttered and reopen it. Closed it, want to reopen it, but they fixed it. So I was very angry at the time, of course. Thank you very much. Great question. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. And as you can see in the background, we see something running. I am going to enjoy looking at this and seeing what we can find, because I know a little bit about them right now. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching. I'm going to end right here.